The courtroom fell into complete silence the moment Judge Marcus Holloway slammed his gavel onto the polished wooden bench. Every eye turned toward the decorated veteran standing alone beside his attorney, his Marine dress uniform pressed to perfection, a single medal hanging proudly over his heart. The judge's voice echoed through the room with cold authority as he ordered the veteran to remove the Navy Cross from his uniform, claiming it was an attempt to influence the court. No one dared breathe. But within seconds, the clerk whispered something into the judge's ear while another elderly man in the gallery slowly stood, revealing his own faded military decorations. The judge's expression changed instantly. What had seemed like a routine divorce hearing was about to become the most unforgettable day in that courtroom's history. Before we continue, if you believe kindness, sacrifice, and second chances still matter in this world, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, share this story with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories that touch the heart. Jonathan Carter had never imagined that surviving enemy fire overseas would be easier than surviving the woman he once promised to love forever. Years earlier, he had enlisted in the United States Marine Corps as a young man from a small town outside Colorado Springs, Colorado. His father, Michael Carter, had worn the same uniform decades before, teaching his son that honor was not measured by medals but by the lives a person protected. Jonathan carried those lessons through every deployment, risking everything for men he considered brothers. During one terrifying mission in Afghanistan, he charged into heavy gunfire to rescue 2 wounded Marines trapped beneath a destroyed vehicle. Against impossible odds, he carried both men to safety despite suffering serious injuries himself. Months later, he was awarded the Navy Cross for extraordinary heroism, though he rarely spoke about that day because the memories still haunted him every night. After returning home, Jonathan hoped life would finally become peaceful. He met Rebecca Lawson at a community charity event supporting veterans. She was charming, intelligent, and seemed deeply interested in the sacrifices military families made. Their relationship moved quickly, and within a year they married in a small church surrounded by friends, relatives, and fellow Marines. Jonathan believed he had finally found someone who loved the man behind the uniform. But as time passed, the warmth that had drawn them together slowly disappeared. Rebecca gradually became frustrated with the invisible wounds Jonathan carried home from war. She disliked the sleepless nights, the therapy appointments, and the quiet moments when painful memories overwhelmed him. Instead of offering comfort, she began treating his military service as nothing more than an inconvenience. She wanted luxury vacations, expensive parties, and a social status that Jonathan neither desired nor could afford. Although he worked tirelessly after leaving active duty, taking a security consulting job while mentoring struggling veterans on weekends, Rebecca complained that he cared more about strangers than about building wealth. Jonathan continued trying to save their marriage because he believed promises should never be broken easily. He attended counseling, planned anniversary trips, and even sold his restored vintage truck to pay off Rebecca's business debts without ever asking for recognition. But nothing seemed enough. Eventually, Rebecca filed for divorce, accusing Jonathan of emotional neglect and claiming he had hidden financial assets. The accusation spread through their community, damaging the reputation Jonathan had spent a lifetime earning. The divorce case attracted unusual public attention because Jonathan was a respected veteran known throughout the state for organizing charity events for wounded service members. Local newspapers covered the hearings, while veterans quietly filled the courtroom benches each day, hoping truth would prevail. Jonathan never sought sympathy. He simply wanted fairness. On the morning of the final hearing, Jonathan entered the courthouse wearing his formal Marine dress uniform because he had come directly from a memorial ceremony honoring fallen service members. His Navy Cross rested above his heart, not as decoration but as part of the official uniform regulations for ceremonial occasions. He walked into the courtroom with calm dignity, refusing to let bitterness control him. Rebecca noticed the medal immediately. Sitting confidently beside her expensive attorney, she whispered that Jonathan was trying to manipulate everyone emotionally. Her lawyer quickly objected before proceedings even began, arguing that the military decorations would unfairly influence the judge's decision. Judge Holloway listened carefully before making the order that stunned everyone present. He instructed Jonathan to remove the Navy Cross immediately. Jonathan remained perfectly still. His face revealed neither anger nor humiliation. Slowly, he reached toward the medal, prepared to obey the court despite the pain that request caused him. Before his fingers touched the ribbon, an elderly man seated quietly in the back rose to his feet. His name was Samuel Brooks, an 80-year-old retired Marine colonel whose back was slightly bent but whose voice still carried remarkable strength. Years earlier, he had commanded the unit that reviewed Jonathan's actions before recommending him for the Navy Cross. Colonel Brooks respectfully informed the court that the medal represented extraordinary courage recognized by the United States government and that ordering its removal during an official military uniform presentation deeply misunderstood its meaning. As the courtroom absorbed those words, the court clerk approached Judge Holloway carrying a file that had just arrived from federal military records. Inside were official commendations describing Jonathan's heroic rescue mission in vivid detail. The documents explained how he had repeatedly exposed himself to enemy fire, refusing evacuation until every wounded Marine had been safely transported. Medical reports confirmed he nearly lost his own life while saving others. Judge Holloway quietly read page after page. The confidence that had filled his earlier decision slowly faded. His expression softened as the full weight of Jonathan's sacrifice became impossible to ignore. Rebecca shifted uneasily in her chair. Her attorney suddenly appeared far less confident than before. For the first time since entering the courtroom, the spectators realized this divorce involved far more than financial disputes or failed promises. It had become a question of character, integrity, and respect for a man who had already sacrificed more than most people could imagine. Jonathan never interrupted the proceedings or attempted to defend himself emotionally. He simply stood with quiet dignity, allowing the truth to speak louder than any argument ever could. The judge looked once more at the medal hanging over Jonathan's heart. Only moments earlier he had viewed it as an unnecessary display. Now he understood that it represented blood, courage, loss, and a lifetime of service that no courtroom order could erase. The atmosphere inside the courtroom had completely changed. Everyone sensed that the trial was no longer moving in the direction Rebecca had expected. Part 2 continues with the dramatic courtroom reversal, the hidden evidence Rebecca never expected, and the emotional ending where justice is finally served.